by Damien CoxSports ColumnistFri, October 6, 2017. When you're winning in pro sports, or have been winning, the notion of losing more games than you win becomes an utterly repulsive thought. So you resist. As evidence, let's examine the common plight of the Toronto Blue Jays, 4th out of 5 teams in the American League East this season, and the New York Rangers, visitors to Toronto for the first Saturday night of this young NHL season. Both clubs wandered in the wilderness for years before finding their way back to elite levels. The Blue Jays missed the playoffs from 1994 to 2014, while the Rangers played a Stanley Cup playoff game in the spring of 1997 and then not another one until 2006. The Jays made it to consecutive American League Championship Series in 2015 and 2016, losing to Kansas City and then Cleveland. The brain trust of Paul Beeston and Alex Anthopoulos, perhaps sensing their days were numbered, emptied the farm system to bring in a group of expensive veterans, notably R.A. Dickey, Jose Reyes and Troy Tulowitzki. In 2014, meanwhile, the Rangers made it all the way to the Cup final, losing in 5 disappointing games to the Los Angeles Kings. Glenn Sather, who would step down as general manager a year later, aggressively went after winning it all. Quality veteran players, notably Martin St. Louis and Keith Yandle, were acquired for packages of young players and draft picks. In other words, both the Jays and Rangers went all in and nearly got to where they wanted. Both teams are now understandably reluctant to let that winning feeling go. They want to believe ultimate victory is still possible with the group that couldn't quite get there before, and have convinced themselves that it's possible to simultaneously try to win while also rebuilding with a base of young talent, often picked up from other teams. So far, after acquiring prospect Teoscar Hernandez at the deadline, the Jays have resigned 34-year-old pitcher Marco Estrada and his bat back to a one-year deal with a pay cut, and abandoned all hope that 36-year-old outfielder Jose Bautista has anything left. Those moves would seem to be born of competing philosophies and don't really tell you where Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins want to take this thing, but their public comments suggest they have no intention of taking a couple of steps backwards next year. There's certainly no indication at all the Jays are looking to mimic the powerhouse Houston Astros, a team that went to the bottom with seasons of 56, 55 and 51 wins, and drafted the likes of Carlos Correa and George Springer. The Astros have now emerged as a team likely to contend for years. The Jays' immediate future revolves around 31-year-old third baseman Josh Donaldson. They can't allow Donaldson to simply walk as a free agent after next season, but they also could really set themselves back with a gigantic contract that ties them to Donaldson for 6 or 7 years. They need a solution between those extremes. He could represent a bold move towards a true rebuild if the Jays move him for futures. But that would help them be competitive next season, which is their stated goal. Unstated is the fear that the fans won't come to the ballpark if the team doesn't win. The Rangers, meanwhile, seemed to indicate last summer an understanding that having no first-round picks for 4 consecutive drafts between 201,316 and no top 5 picks since Pavel Brendel in '99 had left them in a precarious position. So they traded the sizable contract of center Derek Stepan to Arizona for the 7th pick in the draft and mobile 21-year-old defenseman Anthony Dangello. The Rangers also had their own first-round pick, the 21st, and used it on forward Philip Chadil, who managed to stick with the club this fall. At the same time, however, GM Jeff Gorton inked a 4-year, $26.6 million contract with 28-year-old defenseman Kevin Shattenkirk. That indicated the Rangers believe they can get back to the Cup final and this time win it. Their key players are beyond their best years. Winger Rick Nash, their Donaldson, is 33 and in the last year of his contract. Forward Matt Zuccarello is 30. Defenseman Mark Stahl is 30 in January, and goalie Henrik Lundqvist is 35. Captain Ryan McDonough, the team's best player after Lundqvist, is 28, but right in his prime. Signing college free agents like Kevin Hayes and Jimmy Vesey has helped ease the youth crunch, and the excitement over Chit-Hill this fall has some in the organization believing they may have somehow come up with a steal late in the first round of a so-so draft. There's absolutely no indication the Rangers want to do what the Leafs did, which was to use seasons of 84, 68, and 69 points to acquire blue chippers William Nylander, Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews through the draft. Instead, Gorton has the blue shirts on this rebuild on the flight track. That's fine, except winning with an aging goalie as your best player is very difficult in the NHL, and the kids you're likely to get while contending for the playoffs aren't usually the franchise-type athletes you need to build a team around. The Rangers still have the taste of that visit to the 14 final on their lips. The notion of becoming a loser again makes them nauseous. Like the Jays, the logic of losing now to one day win again isn't appealing. Eventually, it will have to be. Damien Cox is the co-host of primetime sports on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. He's spent nearly 30 years covering a variety of sports for the Star. Follow him at Damien. His column appears Tuesday and Saturday.